Communication in some form has existed since prehistoric times. From the early Stone Age to the present, man has attempted self-expression and communication. Man began to record his artistic and communicative efforts thousands of years before the birth of Christ. Communication and historical records have been important to every major civilization. Man's ability to document his artistic and communicative achievements has been enhanced by many recording techniques. We salute the past heroes of communication. We are privileged to honor today's communication innovators who have offered the world another major recording medium. Although earlier efforts by several people had resulted in television recorders, Charles Ginsberg and his associates produced the first widely accepted videotape recording device. In February of 1956,
he gave a demonstration for what was originally supposed to be a very small management group and turned out to be one attended by about 30 Ampex people. The guests arrived, were seated. We then announced that we would record a sequence and immediately play it back. We recorded for about 2 minutes, rewound and stopped the tape, and pushed the playback button. Completely silent up to this point, the entire group rose to its feet and shook the building with hand clapping and shouting.
It was decided to introduce the Ampex videotape recorder to the broadcast industry at the NAR-TV show in April of 1956. In the hectic, work-filled days and nights which followed, Ampex privately showed its invention to a number of broadcast executives. Among the early visitors to Redwood City were Frank Marks of ABC, Sir Harold Bishop of the BBC, Blair Benson, Howard Chin, and Bill Lodge of CBS. Ampex sought 2-inch wide tape samples from a number of tape manufacturers. Philip Gunday of Ampex contacted 3M's Dr. Bill Wetzel shortly before the 1956 NAR-TV show to encourage 3M to provide a better tape for the new Ampex recorder.
After Ampex started their development work on the video recorder, we received requests for 2-inch wide tape samples. Our development efforts were hampered somewhat by the fact that we didn't know what the specific application was. We did considerable development work before the 1956 NAR-TV show, so when the urgent request came for better samples, we were able to take our efforts and make samples that were shown at the show.
Approximately 2:30 in the afternoon, Bill Wetzel called me, and he said that we had to have a tape the following morning. It would be 2 inches wide. It would be used on a recorder with 4 rotating heads. And there really wasn't much known about the recorder at that time. We made an arrangement. I asked Bill Wetzel if he could give me a green light for all the production equipment that night, and also possibly the tape pilot plant coder. Bill made these arrangements, and Joe Mazzatello, who was working with me at that time, and I began an all-night production run. We took this roll of tape, which was a companion to the original rolls. It looks very crude now. It was on a cardboard core as it was then, and gave these samples to Bill Wetzel.
After we found out what the specific application was, our development work proceeded rather rapidly, and we were able to get the type of tape required to make the system work.
The sample of 3M videotape arrived in Chicago and was given to Charles Ginsberg.
And aided by the last-minute delivery of some tape samples that greatly exceeded in performance anything we had seen before, everyone was satisfied.
and thus began the monumental videotape recording industry. Word spread rapidly at the 56 Broadcasters show. Ampex was bombarded with orders for machines. It was a salesman's dream. Orders were written on any scrap of paper at hand. The major networks and the U.S. government ordered the first machines. The industry was bewildered when George Gould placed an early order for a machine, until he formed Tello Studios Incorporated, the first independent videotape production house. Before the 56 show, a market research study predicted a 5-year total market of 26 machines. Ampex took orders for over 3 times that number of machines on the 56 show alone, and began work to fill those orders. On October 30th, 1956, Douglas Edwards and the News, live from New York, was videotaped on the West Coast. This was the first United States broadcast of a videotape show. ABC ran their time zone tape delay center from Chicago. CBS and NBC delay centers were on the West Coast. Within a period of 3 weeks after their prototype videotape machines arrived, ABC Chicago went from delaying their news broadcasts via kinescope to the total elimination of hot kines. 3M sold its first commercial reel of videotape number 179 in 1957. NBC sent one of their original machines to RCA Princeton Labs for immediate heterodyne color conversion. Networks and manufacturers combined their efforts to improve the videotape recording industry. It was an outstanding example of American industry at work. Early in 1957, Dennis James taped a Kellogg commercial, the first videotaped commercial. Local stations were also starting to utilize VTRs. The first Ampex non-prototype machine, the VR-1000, was delivered to KING-TV, Seattle, Washington. Black and white time zone delay had become routine, and there was a great desire for color. RCA announced the first TRT-1AC, providing low-band quad color in October 1957. The first was ordered by WB-TV, Charlotte, North Carolina. In 1958, several entertainers decided to do their TV shows in stop sequences, which required editing. Ampex developed a splicing block, and engineers and operators ingeniously devised their own systems for mechanical splicing. Aided by microscopes, editors with guts, determination, fail-safe memories, and the ability to wield a keen razor spent endless hours doing physical splices. Typical of the United States' firm commitment to education, the Ford Foundation made a multi-million-dollar grant to the National Educational Television and Radio Center in Ann Arbor, Michigan. The grant provided qualified stations with quadruplex videotape recorders. In conjunction with the project, 3M alone donated over $1 million worth of quadruplex videotape to educational television stations.
All the same size, looking up, down, round, and straight ahead. She has 9 little holes in her turned-up nose, and she snores when she goes to bed. She has 9 arms, that's one of her charms, each just like
One
the
of many
other.
outstanding educational television programs was Sesame Street. This innovative program appealed widely to preschool children. The constant demand for better picture quality led to a number of advancements. In 1960, Ampex introduced the InterSync accessory, which allowed a videotape recorder to be locked into house sync. Now the recorder could feed the program switcher and become a flexible production tool as well as a recording device. Within the next few years, Ampex offered 2 more improvement devices. The first of these, called Amtech, was the first step in electronic time-based correction. The second device, called ColorTech, made direct recovery of the color signal possible. In 1960, RCA unveiled its conversion kit, which allowed more efficient use of tape. Recording speed could be switched from the conventional 15 inches per second to half speed. On January 20th, 1961, President John F. Kennedy issued his often quoted challenge to the American people.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
The Camelot years began. At the 1961 NAB convention, RCA presented the first fully transistorized videotape recorder, the TR-22. A standalone unit, it was a dramatic contrast to the multiple racks required for tube-type recorders. On February 20th, 1962, Colonel John Glenn became the first United States astronaut to orbit the Earth, and the world cheered his accomplishment. Doubtless, many diligent mechanical videotape editors cheered the following year when Ampex introduced Editech. This accessory made it possible to electronically edit videotape material precisely and automatically, down to a single frame. Since the first public demonstration of videotape recording in 1956, dropouts had been a major problem. In February 1963, the Mincom division of 3M announced a new videotape recording accessory called the Dropout Compensator. With production space and equipment mobility at a premium, RCA introduced the TR-5. It was the industry's first mobile recorder, with all the latest color technology, on wheels at almost half the cost of previous broadcast quality VTRs. The announcement in 1964 of the Ampex VR2000 high-band color recorder was another quantum leap for the industry. The BBC requested a color recorder capable of wider video pass bands. The VR2000 satisfied the BBC requirement. It also made practical multi-generation dubbing, so essential to program syndication and sophisticated teleproduction techniques. The industry continued to demand better signal-to-noise ratio, especially for multi-generation dubbing. 3M introduced the first low-noise color videotape, number 399, in 1965. This advancement in videotape technology combined low-noise oxide with additional process controls. It remained the industry standard for 5 years. In 1966, Ampex introduced the VR1200, a less costly and less complex machine. It is used today in both broadcast and non-broadcast studios. By the mid-60s, videotape production had gained prominence in television programming and commercial production. These award-winning commercials demonstrated videotape's growing capability in production.
There's more to it than the hair. There's much more. I mean, there's a certain type of skin that you find with blondes.
Only Clairol makes cosmetics just for blondes.
They're huggable.
In March 1967, Ampex introduced the HS100, a disc recorder with slow motion and stop-action capability. This joined the now familiar instant replay technique. The next year, ABC scooped the sports broadcast industry with the use of the HS100 on its Wide World of Sports Olympic Games coverage. During this period, helical scan recorders gained widespread institutional and industrial use. Later, they were of major importance in offline editing systems. In the spring of 1969, Dr. Denton Cooley made the first successful implantation of a stopgap artificial heart. Prince Charles was invested as the 21st Prince of Wales.
Man on the moon.
And on July 20th, Neil Armstrong took man's first step on the moon. In 1968, RCA won an Emmy Award for the TCR 100. This automatic cartridge recorder reproducer began a revolution in airing commercials and other short segments. In anticipation of industry needs, Scotch brand number 400 controlled wind videotape was introduced. Number 400 featured greatly improved windability and cinch resistance, qualities so important in bicycling of syndicated programs. 1970, the year of the time-based corrector. This remarkable device proved machine-to-machine compatibility, but found its greater value in dubbing from helical to quad. The way was paved for expanded use of ENG equipment. The Ampex AVR-1, the third generation of Ampex quad recorders, was designed for station automation. The AVR-1 also records mirror image masters for the ADR-150 high-speed quad duplicator. The early 70s marked the introduction of an electronic edge numbering system, later to become the SMPTE timecode, and computerized editing became a reality. 1972, Winter Olympics held in Sapporo, Japan, drew almost 1,300 athletes representing 35 countries. President Nixon became the first United States president in history to visit China while in office. In 1973, IVC introduced the 9000, a high-performance 2-inch helical videotape recorder. The 9000 has found multiple worldwide applications. The first modular quadruplex recorder using digital technology for time-based correction, the AVR-2, was shown by Ampex in 1974. The next year, 3M technology produced another industry advancement, number 420 tape. This new generation quad tape provided a significant advancement in color noise properties. This advancement made multi-generation copies, a product of electronic editing, better than ever. 1975 marked the beginning of the United States bicentennial celebration, and the Freedom Train began its nationwide tour. We at 3M are proud of the free environment that has allowed private enterprise to invent and develop videotape. Since 1956, we have seen 4 generations of videotape recorders. We have gone from black and white to high-band color videotape recording, from arduous mechanical editing to computerized editing, from multi-rack tube machines to modern solid-state recorders, from videotape wound on makeshift cardboard cores to highly refined videotape available in many formats. We have heard modest sales predictions give way to the sale of thousands of machines. The industry has flourished and consistently improved its products. When we began our videotape development efforts at 3M over 20 years ago, we had no idea of the potential of the medium. Initially only a network delay device, video recording has found many additional applications over these 20 years. Its role in education and training is expanding daily. And for the millions of home TV viewers, videotape is a primary entertainment medium. Yes, the applications have expanded. The production techniques and the hardware developments have grown more sophisticated. Videotape recording has indeed changed all our lives, and it continues to improve. We look forward to these improvements and to the next 20 years. To the pioneers, to those whose efforts continue to advance our industry, we offer our thanks and our encouragement.